What's up guys, this is Lindsay and I'm Alex, and today we're going over some really unique experiences that you can have when you travel in Peru.
So these are some things you're not going to want to miss, and most of them are more cultural experiences that will be something you've never done before.
So of course you can have experiences like going to Rainbow Mountain, going to Machu Picchu, but this isn't really about that. These are the smaller things, the everyday kind of things that you can find in between the destinations. Okay, so the first one is to go to a PICANTERIA or a CHICHERIA. So chicha is a fermented corn beer. It's very popular in Peru. It's a way that you can get drunk if you want to, or you can just have a drink with your meal, hang out with people. So you can have kind of like a authentic local bar experience or restaurant. So if it's a picanteria, you'll find that you can get chicha there, but you can also get food there. A chicheria is just for the chicha.
So the chicha itself doesn't have a lot of alcohol content, so mainly it's just for the flavor. But like Alex said, if you drink a lot of it, you could probably get a little buzz going. So a lot of the times when you go to these chicherias, it's mainly locals, which makes the experience even that much cooler. Rarely did we see any tourists there, so make sure you don't miss this. A lot of times the chicherias or picanterias will be in someone's little home, so you'll get to see how they live and what that looks like, meet the family.
So you might be wondering, how do you find a chicheria? So we actually didn't know for the first couple months we were in Peru what this meant, but this is what you look for. So you'll see a long stick on the outside of a house or a building, and you'll see a red flag, or not a flag, you'll find a red bag, sometimes a blue or yellow bag on there, and that means that it's a chicheria. So you can go inside. And so you look for these, and you can find them all over the country. There are actually a lot of them. Once you know what it is, you'll start to spot them everywhere.
Mainly though, we saw them in Cusco. When we were in Lima, I don't think we saw too many of these. So if you're in the Sacred Valley region, you will see these all over once you start knowing what they are and looking out for them.
So they're pretty cool little experiences. Usually you'll get to talk to the family that lives there if you want to, the people that are brewing the chicha. You can see them making it, you can see them cooking food, sometimes even see their kids running around or even talking to you, maybe even animals like their pets, like in this case where we had chickens, dogs, cats,
Ducks,
other animals
Guinea
around
pigs.
us. And you can just sit there and drink on your beer and have a conversation with these people. So really cool, authentic experiences.
And they're very happy and welcoming. They want to share this experience with you. So we always had positive experiences whenever we did this. We went probably 5 to 10 times at least. So.
And one of the best parts about these things is the price. So one huge glass, they always come in these huge glasses about this big, and they're usually about 20 cents US, about the equivalent of that for the whole thing. So very cheap. You can have as much as you want. You can stay there all day. They would love that.
And each one is so unique. So each one you go to is not going to be the same. They each have their own little unique flair to them.
Okay, the next awesome experience that you need to have when you go to Peru is called PACHAMANCA. PACHAMANCA means earth pot, and it means that your meal is going to be cooked underground in a hole.
Yeah, that's right. You heard him right. Underneath the ground in a hole.
It takes about an hour to cook, and you'll see the people dig up a hole. They'll put the food in there. Usually the food will be like some kind of meat. It's either alpaca, chicken, some kind of pork or beef.
And then they add potatoes, maybe some corn. Put that all underneath in the hole. Cover it with grass, a tarp, stones. The stones are super hot, so that's what produces the heat to cook the food, and it's trapped by the grass and the tarp. So they leave that in there for about an hour, and then you're ready to take it out and eat.
And they don't do much to it when they take it out. So pretty much your meal is actually being cooked and prepared and everything underground. Once they take it out of there, they pretty much put it on a plate for you right away. They just brush off some of the dirt, if any got on it, and you have your meal right there. So you see the whole process. It's really amazing. It's one of the best cultural experiences that you can have in Peru, I think.
Yeah, we enjoyed it a lot. That's one of our favorite memories we have. And while the people are making it, you can tell that they're putting their love and hard work into it. It's not easy to make this.
Yeah, so the word is PACHAMANCA. So ask around. If you don't see it displayed somewhere, if someone doesn't invite you right away, you are going to want to see this. So ask around, where is PACHAMANCA? How can I see it? Who's doing it? Especially if you're in the Sacred Valley region around Peru. Ask around, you'll find someone who will do it for you. And it's just a great experience.
Yeah, and like Alex said, you probably are going to have to ask around because looking back, thinking back, we didn't really see it advertised since it is more of like a local cultural thing. So yeah, just keep asking around. Don't give up. It's worth fighting for. Next thing is ride in a mototaxi. So the mototaxis are pretty much like tuk-tuks or these small little vehicles that transport you from place to place. They're very cheap. And it's usually just one guy driving it. He drives by the side of the road and you flag him down. And it's a lot more cost effective than taking a taxi. It's also a very interesting experience.
It's a lot of fun if you've never ridden in a tuk-tuk or a rickshaw, whatever they call it, many different names around the world. It's actually a lot of fun to do it when you haven't done it before. Like Lindsay said, it's cheap, it's fun, it's more fun than taxis, it's more cost effective. So it's just something you can do. In some areas around Peru, there are more than others. So like when we were in Pisac, it is one way to get around that everyone seems to do to get into town and back to where you live.
It's more so for short distances. So if you're going a long ways, I wouldn't recommend a mototaxi. But if you're just going as far as like a 10 or 15 minute walk, they would be totally fine.
Okay, the next thing that you will have to do when you're in Peru is take a trek. You can do a one-day one, you can do a week-long one, but a lot of people will do something between 2 and 4 days for their treks. This is when you're gonna trek into the mountains, you're gonna sleep outside, you're gonna camp out. So it's a different experience than just going on a hike.
You're really immersing yourself in nature, connecting with Mother Earth. It's a very spiritual experience.
So if you go on a good trek, you'll be able to see a lot of amazing scenery, especially when you trek in Peru. There are just so many mountains, so many off the beaten path places, and you can only get to them by trekking because you can't really drive a car up into the mountains for the most part. So you can find hidden lakes that nobody really sees, like we did. What other things did we see?
You can find like tombs where there's hidden bones of where Inca people were buried.
We got to meet a family that was living in the mountains far, far away from everybody. And we got to camp out right outside of their little adobe house. That was one of our favorite experiences. So you get to really see things on these treks that you're not going to be able to see any other way. If you don't go on a trek, you're not going to see these things. You won't even get close to them. So...
And if you can't do a 2-day trek, at least just make sure you go on 1-day day hikes, because there's a lot of beautiful scenery in Peru and you don't want to miss that.
So the next one is obvious, but it's try the local foods. Peru is a culinary destination and there are a lot of foods to try. It took us about 6 months to try all of the foods that we wanted to, and there's a lot more than you would think when you get there.
At first, we were kind of nervous to try some of the foods because we weren't used to them, but you'd be surprised. You might actually find that you like a lot of the foods that you're not normally exposed to on a daily basis, and it's kind of a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to try these foods because you might not ever get to try them again. So a lot of countries strongly identify with their food. Peru is one of them. They're very proud of their food. So by trying their different dishes, you're actually in a way getting to know their culture and what their people really enjoy.
So we just filmed a video about all of the foods that we tried. There are about 30 of them on there. So if you want to see a video all about the local foods that you need to try, then click this up here. It'll be there once we release the video. And you have to watch that after this one, of course. And the next one, along the lines of foods, we're going to say street food. Street food is a little different than just trying the local foods. You have to try it. So trying street food is one of my favorite things when I travel. I just love trying street food. It's not as dangerous as you would think that it would be. Some people are really afraid of trying street food, but I've done it all over the world and I've always been fine. or usually been fine.
Yeah, we luckily did not get sick from any street food in Peru. Just kind of use your common sense. I wouldn't eat anything that looks really old or not fresh. But most every time we tried street food, we had a really good experience. It's oftentimes very cheap, and it's a good way to just try a lot of different things at once while you're walking around a city, just taking in the sights.
It's a completely different experience than going into a restaurant, sitting there for an hour and eating food that way on a plate. Just getting it from a little local stall or food truck or food cart, just getting it very quickly from what they have right there. It's just a completely different experience. There's nothing like it, so try it when you see it.
And if you see a lot of locals lined up eating there, that's a pretty good indicator that it's probably amazing food. Next is trying San Pedro or ayahuasca. These are both psychedelic plant medicines, so pretty interesting. A lot of people will come here to do these ceremonies and try these plant medicines to deal with past trauma, anxiety, just a variety of different things. It can help people seek mental clarity.
A lot of people will come to Peru strictly for this reason, because they've heard so many benefits come out of doing one or both of these things. And so they're actually made with a cactus, or a variety of cactus. They're different, the San Pedro and the ayahuasca. And if you go to a place like Pisac, that's a place where a lot of people go to do that. So most of the people you meet that are traveling through Pisac and spending time there, they've come to have this experience, which can change their lives. We've heard many stories where it changed people's lives for the better.
Even physical healing, not even just mental benefits, but physical healing. But you got to be pretty careful, do your research. Especially ayahuasca, it's a very powerful plant medicine. Basically, it takes you through your worst fears and you're kind of conquering them in your mind. So everyone reacts differently. A lot of times you have to have a special diet before you actually take ayahuasca. So make sure you do your research, but we've heard a lot of amazing stories from both of those plant medicines.
We didn't actually try ayahuasca, but a lot of people did. A lot of people have, and we just thought that is one of the cultural experiences that people were telling us that you should have in Peru. So we thought we would put it on this list just so you could do your own research and see if it's right for you. So the next one is take a colectivo to a small town. So a colectivo is basically a van where you can get multiple people in. It's a form of transportation that is cheap. It's usually cheaper than the buses, than taking a plane, obviously. But you can take these colectivos, get off wherever you have to get off, and the cost is split between kind of the amount of people that are in there.
Yeah, and these are great because typical buses cannot go into certain areas, but the colectivos are smaller since they're like a van, so they might be able to take you to a certain hiking area or a destination where a bus normally wouldn't go. You'll be able to save a lot of money and maybe meet some other travelers along the way, or locals.
Yeah, it's cool because it's a more local experience. When we went on those, we found locals were traveling with us. Whereas if you go on some of the buses that you'll find as a tourist are more catered toward tourists, and so you'll only see tourists on these buses, or at least just a few locals, because they cost more. They're not the most effective way to do it. But when you go on the colectivos, you'll find just every type of person. So it's cool to do just a different way of traveling that isn't just for a tourist.
Next experience is chewing coca leaves. So coca leaves are huge in Peru. A lot of people will consume them or chew them to help with energy. It's similar to coffee in the sense where it can give you a little bit of a buzz and pick me up. And it can help a lot with altitude sickness and just breathing in general. It helps so you can have more oxygen.
Yeah.
All right, Alex had a little slip up. He accidentally called it coca leaves, so I'm gonna help him out here. A lot of times when people arrive to Cusco, they will chew coca leaves due to the high elevation. This can help a lot with altitude sickness and relieve some of the symptoms. So you'll see coca leaves all over. You can chew them. They have coca tea, coca candy, coca chocolate, coca everything. But chewing coca leaves seems like the best way to get that boost of energy. It doesn't taste the best, but it is very interesting.
And obviously you're probably thinking, Coca is known around the world because cocaine is made with it, but it isn't that simple. It's not just like you chew coca leaves, you're having cocaine. Like it's a process, it's a chemical process that involves a lot of stuff. So you can't have any amount of coca leaves that will make it as if you're, consuming that.
Yeah.
So just wanted to throw that in there.
Little disclaimer there.
Yeah.
Coca leaves are legal in Peru, but not legal in the US, so don't try to bring any home.
You can consume it in many forms. You can have tea, just the leaves. You just chew them up in your cheek before you go on a hike or something if you want. You can have coca candy, coca bars, pretty much anything. And you'll see it a lot around Cusco. So definitely try some kind of version of coca just to get that experience.
Locals have it all the time too. It's not just a thing for tourists who have altitude sickness. It's actually something that Peruvians have been chewing for hundreds of years, even the Incas. I think.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I think it was thousands of years, but yeah. Okay, the last one here is to eat with a family, hopefully in their adobe house. So adobe houses are very popular around Peru. You'll see adobe houses everywhere, especially in the Sacred Valley region. You'll see them. And if you can experience what it's like inside, that is just an amazing experience you'll never forget. And to meet some people, have them cook with you, and to eat with them, to break bread with them in their adobe house, that is just an experience you will never forget. And we're bringing this up because we had this experience and it was one of our favorite. After 6 or 7 months in Peru, eating with a local family in their adobe house, eating PACHAMANCA with them, there is nothing like that.
They were very welcoming, proud, and happy to share their home with us and their food.
So make sure you don't pass up any opportunities where you get to enter an adobe home of someone if they invite you in. Don't pass that up. You will love that. It's just a really intriguing way of living that you don't really get to see around the world.
So these are 10 unique experiences in Peru that we think you guys are gonna love. We hope you enjoyed this video. If you found it helpful, please click the like button and leave a comment below. It helps us out a lot.
And we will see you in the next video.
So by trying their different meal... Wait. Well, that was good.
Dishwasher.